Okay, all right, so I haven't done this in a while, and gonna try this again. I'm aware it's been a long time since I've done anything like this, and anyone who used to watch me before may remember me doing this, but I want to talk about books. I started off this channel talking about books, and I did it for a long time, and gradually got out of it, and I decided I'm going to do it again. So let's try it, now. So this video is going to be me talking about books that I recently bought. Some of them, most of them I haven't read before. These are just blind buys. Some of them are by writers I like, but just haven't read these particular ones. And at least one is one that I've read a long time ago, but liked it enough to buy it. So let's jump into it. So the first book is The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. I've never heard of this book, but I read the back of it, and it has a very interesting premise. And it seems like a good thriller, something I would really like. And I'm interested to read it and see how I like C.J. Tudor. Plus Stephen King blurbed it, and usually I like most of what King recommends, so I'm looking forward to that. And speaking of King, I bought his collection of novellas, If It Bleeds. Really looking forward to this one. I'm trying to catch up on the more recent Stephen King output, having just read The Institute not too long ago. I'm looking forward to this, especially since one of the stories features the character Holly from his Bill Hodges trilogy, featuring the novels End of Watch, Mr. Mercedes, and Finders Keepers. So the character Holly from that series comes into one of these stories, and he's a very good writer of the novella. I'm glad he's still writing short stories and novellas and hasn't just entirely given them up to write novels. So looking forward to If It Bleeds. Moving on, I bought a classic, Still River by Hal Clement. I've never read Clement. I know he's considered a science fiction great. He's up there with Paul Anderson, Asimov, people like that. This seems to be a novel. It seems to be about interplanetary exploration. The cover is beautiful. It has a very great jacket art, and I admit I'm not as familiar with some of these older science fiction writers, like the ones I mentioned, some of which I've read, but I haven't read a lot of. And Hal Clement's a name I've been familiar with for many years. I've just never actually read anything by him, so it'll be fun going back and reading some classic sci-fi. And then I bought a nonfiction book. This is Zeatoan by Dave Eggers. I'm not sure how to pronounce that title, but it's like a nonfiction book that happened about it's talking about Katrina when it happened and kind of its effect on people. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I hear good things about Eggers. I've never read him, but I'm really looking forward to getting into him. And I know he's written a lot of nonfiction books. This one even has photos in it. And I'm looking forward to kind of getting into him and seeing what I think. I mostly know him from editing the Year's Best Non-Required Reading books, which have some really great collected writing. So I'm looking forward to seeing Eggers himself as a writer. Moving on, another nonfiction book I recently bought was Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. I see this book recommended everywhere. A friend of mine read it and said it was great. I've been digging into books and researching books about topics like socialism, anarchism, things like this, and this seems to be a very non-biased kind of history book about America, which is definitely the kind of thing I want to read. I'm not saying I don't like, other writers of history books. I love people like, Ellis and David McCullough, people like that. But this seems, I think, more in line with a very honest account of the United States and the people who founded it. And it's huge, so there's a lot of history here. I'm really looking forward to it, Plus, Noam Chomsky recommended it, Noam Chomsky, noted philosopher, social commentator, really liked it. Howard Zinn was a historian. He was a social activist. He's written some other books. This is the first thing I've heard of him by him, but I'm sure I will definitely want to start reading his stuff. There's a few writers of nonfiction I like a lot, and I keep coming back to, like Susan Orlean for sure, and Carl Sagan, of course. A lot of the science people, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I read a lot by, and I like Neil Postman a lot. I like his stuff in education and culture. So I definitely think this is a good approach to kind of what I've been looking for a history book. Moving on from there, I got the novel House of Sand and Fog by Andre Dubois III. I haven't read anything about Dubois. His father was like a famous writer of short stories. Andre Dubois III has written a lot of novels. I've only seen him do an interview with Stephen King, and it was a very good interview, and it made me want to read his fiction. And I know this novel particularly has also been recognized, and of course it was in Oprah's book club. She actually has good stuff in her book club. Moving on from this is the novel The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. I've read this a long time ago, and I loved it. I think it's a very, very great novel. And I read a lot of Michael Chabon. I have mixed feelings on his work. Some of it I really, really like. Some of it I didn't care for. And some of it I thought was just really boring. It depends on what he's done. And Chabon has written a lot of different types of fiction. He's written a lot of genre fiction. He's written a lot of literary fiction, which this falls into. And it's just a really good story. It's about two young men who, back in, I'd say, I think the 30s, 40s, I think the 50s, I say, create comics, and it explores kind of, explores Jewish identity and culture and Jewish heritage, and that relationship to the comics and their people, and it's just very good. These two artists, are very, very interesting characters, and they have very interesting lives. Chabon really knows how to develop them and knows how to tell her story wonderfully. Plus, I love this cover art of this edition. That's a great comic style cover. I love it, and can't wait to read it again. I also bought All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. You can even see the Walmart sticker on it. I haven't heard of Megan Miranda. I just saw this in the store. I like thrillers. I don't know anything about this except just the premise on the back. But I'm always looking forward to new writers who write thrillers, suspense fiction, and I'm willing to give this a shot. I also bought David Badalchi's Split Second, which is a part of the series. I've only heard of David Badalchi. He looks like a very interesting guy. I see his books in libraries all the time. I'm always in the library, and I always see his stuff on the shelves. I've never once read anything by him, so this is another writer that I'll have to read and see what I think. But again, I love suspense, I love thrillers, I love crime fiction, stories about detectives, all that kind of stuff. So, willing to give that a shot. Same thing here, John Stanford, Shadow Prairie. I see his stuff everywhere. I see his stuff in bookstores, libraries. I've never read anything by Stanford. I know he's written, this is part of a series, and each one has the title Prairie somewhere in the title. Um, he's famous. I don't know anything about him. I hope I like him. We'll see. And lastly, but not certainly not least, I bought Mr. Be Gone by Clive Barker. Never read this, but I'm a huge fan of Clive Barker. I've read a lot of his novels, a lot of his short fiction. I have a lot of his novels and short fiction just on this shelf here. I love his stuff. He's a big influence on me. He's a creative inspiration. He's one of my art heroes. His work as a visual artist has influenced my work as a visual artist. He's just an all-round inspirational figure to me, and I really like his style. I love his stuff. He writes very dark fantasy as well as horror stuff about monsters and other worlds and demons and angels and all kinds of crazy stuff. And anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge Barker guy, but I just never got around to this one. I remember back when it came out, I remember seeing it in bookstores when it came out, which I can't remember how long ago. It was a while back. I gotta find a copyright page, but it can't seem to find one. That's weird. It has the title page. Title here. But there's no copyright info. It just goes right to the story. So I don't know when it was published. That's strange. I've never seen a book without copyright info. It's so weird. Strange. But yes, I remember it was a long time ago it came out. I'm looking forward to reading it. Like I said, big Barker fan. His stuff never disappoints. Everything I read by him is really good. It's all very different from each other, but it all covers the same kind of topics, the same kind of themes. But he knows how to weave all these themes into very different stories, and tell very engaging stories. He's just a natural storyteller. But yeah, looking forward to that. Can't wait to read Mr. Be Gone. The premise is interesting. It's about a demon who becomes trapped in a book, and this is it's the presupposition that you're reading the actual book that he's trapped in. So the whole thing's told in the first person, and he's telling a story about, he's trying to escape hell, and he gets caught in I think a printing press somehow, and he's trying to get out, and so I'm intrigued, looking forward to reading Mr. Be Gone, and for now I'm going to add it to the Clive Barker shelf with all the other Clive Barker. But yeah, those are the books that I bought most recently, and like I said, most of them I haven't heard of, I don't know anything about, but I'm looking forward to reading them, seeing what I think, and this was fun to do. It was fun to do another book video. Maybe I'll go back to doing book videos. We shall see. But until then, I will catch y'all guys later.